Hi guys, and welcome to Workout of the Week number 37. I'm Coach Brent.
I'm Coach Christy.
So in the recent weeks we've taken you through the rigmarole involved in writing a program for ourselves for a training block, given our recent change in direction. And it's the same methodology that we use for our client base and in small group training. Now I know that I said we were going to take you through day one of our week today.
He got a bit excited.
I lied. So we jumped the gun a little bit and we thought before we get to the exercise part, which we know you're big fans of, we're going to take you through our warm-up. Now, our warm-up is a set of stretches we do, the same order, in the same way for the same amount of time every training session.
Yep.
This has been a hit and miss setup over probably 2 years.
Yeah. We've been pretty thorough though,
Yeah.
in I would say the last 3 months.
Yes, at least, probably a little bit longer. Most of the time we always do it with one, but this 3 month block we've said that's it. Proper structured warm-up to match with our proper structured exercise plan and for the most part our relatively structured eating plan.
Yes.
So we're going to take you through our warm-up. So we're going to alternate. First one we do is a calf stretch. Now we're going to use this pole, and the floor. We use a wall, we use a mat, we use a windowsill. It just depends where we're training. So for this all intensive purposes, we're doing it here today because it's quiet, there's no one in here. So, calf stretch. You want to explain it as I do it, or do you want to do it and explain it?
You can explain while you do it, then I'll talk and I'll do.
Excellent. So, I take my foot as far up the wall, door, pole as I can. Keep a soft bend in my knee, and I think I bring my hips towards the pole. Now, I'm looking for discomfort. I'm not looking for extreme pain, potential tearing of my limbs, right? It's time with a gentle amount of discomfort. So, bring my hips towards the pole. I'm getting stretched right up the back of my calf from my heel all the way to the back of my knee. It's a tolerable level of discomfort. As it starts relaxing, I feel it get more and more comfortable. I bring my hips a little closer and I just work myself into the stretch. We probably spend about 45 seconds to a minute.
I think so.
45 seconds to a minute on each stretch.
Yep.
Leg, arm, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
45 seconds to a minute, but for this demonstration, not going to spend that long because this workout will go for 12 minutes of you watching me hugging a pole. So, leg one, switch leg, same thing. Tie up as far up the wall as I can, soft bend in the knee, bring the hips towards the pole.
Next is a quad stretch. So really simple, one that you probably see often, but an effective one. So soft knee on your balancing leg. Bring the other foot, I'll go this side so you can see a bit better. Bring your foot to your hand, squeeze your bottom and push your hips forward so you should feel that stretch down the front of the leg. Making sure that your knees not out wide too, you want it nice and close together. Anything you want to add on that?
No, you did the good demonstration of don't do the funky
Don't
chicken.
do this, or headbutt the pole, which I almost did.
Oh, with the quad stretch, the balance part's not actually important.
No, hang on to something if you need to.
Better off grabbing something to hang on to so you can focus on the stretch than spending your entire minute trying not to fall over and not actually worrying about the stretch. So,
indeed. Hamstrings now.
hamstring. Utilise my marvellous hamstring mobility today to get onto the pole like a dancer. So, try to have your hips as square to the object as you can. My foot's relaxed now. I put the bar essentially on my Achilles, so it lets me relax my foot, relax my leg, and then I'm pulling my hips away from my foot. I don't focus on leaning forward. If you've got a really long mobile back, I can lean forward and touch my toe and it's not stretching my hamstring. Pulling the hips back and away lengthens this muscle. That's what the stretch is about, so we're lengthening the hamstring. So I'll spend 45 seconds like this, and then I'll rotate out, pulling my hip away, and this stretches my adductor, a little more into my groin, a little more on the inside of my hamstring rather.
This one?
The other end of the quad. For another 45 seconds. So 45 seconds with my hips square to the bar, or the windowsill, or the ledge, or whatever you're doing it on. Whatever you're using. Excuse me. 45 seconds rotated, and then I'll repeat for the other leg. I'll go back to square, 45 seconds, tipping the hips away, 45 seconds opening them away.
And Brent talked about having a fairly thick Achilles, so he'll rest his on the bar, whereas I'm the opposite. I find it more comfortable to just rest the back of my heel on the bar. So if it's uncomfortable and you're unable to get a stretch because of that inhibiting, then just have a play with that position. But
I've got a lot of leg meat, so
You
I'm
do
really
have a lot of
comfortable
leg
having
meat.
my leg just sitting on that bar, but some people find it's like doing trigger point to their Achilles.
that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, so for me, that's ace.
Okay, I'm going to do the glutes on this side.
So we'll change places.
Yeah. This is a really high bar. You don't have to have the bar this high. I've got a fair amount of mobility, so you may need to drop the bar.
Even with the hamstring stretch.
Yeah.
This is totally acceptable. If that's what you've got, we're using a step that's this high.
Or foot on your bench, whatever.
You're not doing a better stretch just because you're doing a harder variant.
So in this stretch, we're working on opening up the hip, the glute, and again, it's about posture, so not slumping forward into it, keeping yourself nice and upright, and again, keeping square to the front too, so not twisting and rotating. I could just stay here for a while because it's actually really nice.
We'll give us a quick look at what it looks like on the other leg and then we'll switch
Oh.
and we'll do our stretch.
Getting out of it's sometimes not nice though.
You may find too that when you're doing one leg versus the other, you might not be able to get the other leg as high or vice versa. So stick with an object that works for that leg. Just because the first leg can get to your face doesn't mean the second leg has to. So work within the realm of what your limbs can do.
Okay, what's next? Rotation.
Rotation. So this is my newer one that I'm putting in. And it's not a newer stretch, it's an old style stretch. Christy, can you quickly look in that camera screen and see if I'm still in it?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. So, arm out to the side, palm facing down. I have it a little bit lower than my shoulder. So I don't have it up next to my face, down below my shoulder. I take the same knee up, past my hip crease, take my opposite arm and I roll myself over. Now, things to note when I do this lower back stretch. I have a lot of glute. So if I just pull myself over, my hips don't actually want to rotate across. So what I do is I have my hand down, I pull this over, and then I shimmy my hips around. I'm still keeping this shoulder down, this hand down, but it lets me get a better stretch in through my glutes and my low back.
Which is where you've had a bit of issue lately, and funnily enough, doing this every day has helped.
Who knew that consistent stretching would help avoid injury? Same as the other side, I take the arm down, I take the leg across, pull myself over, rotate the hips a little to let me get into a bit more of a stretch.
It's actually a really nice one too, feels good.
Oh, I don't want to get up, it's lovely.
That was me in the last stretch.
So,
Next is chest. So you could use a wall, we've got the vertical bar here.
door frame.
Yeah, anything like that. Sometimes you might find having a door frame or a bar to give you a little bit more leverage might help. Shoulder in line with the elbow, that's not your shoulder, that's your elbow. I got it back to front.
I do that all the time.
And then you're going to rotate out and away so that you're opening up through chest and shoulder. This is one too that I really enjoy, especially after our bench or push-up day. I like to hang here for a little bit longer just to help open everything up.
It's really important to note it's about rotating away, not ripping yourself away from it.
Yeah. And you can play with that position of your elbow too. Usually I find if you're level or above, that's where you get a better stretch versus being down low.
Versus me, I like to be a little bit lower. Just that's where I tend to get the stretch. If I'm up higher, I've got pretty mobile shoulders. I don't get as much stretch through my chest. So
a lot of stretching is just those subtle tweaks in finding where feels the best.
everybody's body's very different. So one position that may work well for someone doesn't necessarily work for someone else. Doesn't mean it's wrong, it's just different.
Yeah.
Last but certainly not least is lat stretch. Now this is one that we've had in our workouts forever and I find it very beneficial. If someone who's tight in the chest, good odds they're tight in the lats. This is one that benefits both. So you can use a pole, it's a very old school stretch, and use the back of your hand. I'm going to use this to grip onto just because it's there and it's easy. I'm sitting my hips away. Now I'm taking my hip and my armpit away from each other. So I'm stretching right through my lat, all up my side, all the way down to my hip today, because I feel pretty tight.
Tweets. Lengthen because we've got overhead today.
Yes, we do. Same for the other side. Back of the hand, tipping the hips away, lengthening through the side, all the way from the tips of my fingers to my hip. A little dangerous syllables to say at once on a Friday afternoon. But we got them all out without incident, so I keep my employment for another week.
Great work.
So, next week, day one.
Yes.
I promise.
We promise this time.
Promise that's what we're going to do, right? But this is something we do every workout. It's not elaborate, it's not exciting, it's not sexy, it's not the part of exercise you see people do. It is the part that means we've trained now for nearly a month, getting close.
Yeah, this is end of week 3.
Without incident, because we're stretching every day. We make this part of our exercising rather than going, this is exercise time, stretchy times later.
Yeah.
We make stretchy time part of it, and for us, depending on who you are, some will say it's better to stretch after, some will say better before, some will say dynamic stretch is important, some will say static stretch. Look, it's all conjecture. It's what works best for you. I find doing this kind of stretching gets me mobile enough to perform the exercises well and has, for me, more benefit than me doing stretching directly after when I train. I do trigger point or something else after.
Yeah.
It's about what works for you, but it's important to have consistent stretching work in your weekly routine.
Yeah, and that's our consistent routine, but every now and then if our quads are a bit sore, we might roll them before we do that stretch routine. We might do a deep squat hold if we're feeling a little bit tight through the hips.
Yep.
So sometimes we'll add extra bits, but that's our base routine.
But we don't leave any mysteries, so it's the same every day.
Yeah.
We don't go, oh yeah, I feel a bit tight in the chest today, so I'm going to throw all that stretching out and just do this because of this. No, it's consistent, structured programming with a few optional extras depending on what's tight, what needs a bit of work.
Yep.
So we're going to see you next week for number 38 with day 1.
Yep.
Which, let me tell you, starts off the week with a cracker. We'll hope you enjoy that, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, guys.
Ta-ta.